Hello, everyone. Just waiting for James. Good to see you. Daniel, good to see you.
Hi David, how are we doing?
Not bad. Not bad.
Excellent.
Carina, alles goed?
Hallo. Ja, alles goed, dankjewel.
Goed
Your
zo.
Dutch is getting better?
Hey, mijn Nederlands is heel goed, hè?
Ja, is
Ah,
goed.
ja.
Mijn Nederlands wordt steeds slechter.
Nee. Jij bent zo... jouw Nederlands is heel goed. Yeah, okay. That's enough. We'll give it a couple of more minutes for people to drop in, and then we'll get going.
I do have a meeting in between, so I'm gonna follow it, but I do have another meeting as well, so just so you know.
All good. All good. So, I'm going to ask this question to you all. What is the worst mistake you've ever seen on a sales team? And I want the wrong answers only. If you want to write that in the chat, what is the worst mistake you've ever seen in a sales team? Wrong answers only. Let's see. Let's see how horrendous it is sometimes for people. So people that are joined, just put in the chat, what as a starter question, what is the worst mistake you've ever seen on a sales team? Abandoning sequences, hiring brothers, expecting them to be clones of a successful brother. Yeah, yeah. A summer party at Ascot Racing. Yeah, see that in the papers, never goes well. Forgetting to join a sales meeting. Ignoring the notes on a fully qualified op. I cannot believe that any salesperson would ever do anything like that. I cannot believe that that even happens. Right, let's kick off. Thanks ever so much, everybody, for coming today. My name's Dave Wilkins, founder of SDR Leaders for EMEA. Yeah, not turning the mic off while going on the toilet on a live call. Yeah, we've all experienced that. Our session today is titled "How to Help SDRs Recover Confidence After They're Struggling." This is a huge thing, especially with a kind of new generation of SDRs coming into the workplace, about how we're helping helping our teams really rebuild and build their confidence to be effective salespeople. And we've got today Jack Blair, who's going to be talking about through that today. This isn't going to be just a motivational talk. There's going to be a lot of pieces come through. We want to hear your insights, your perspectives. So if you have those, put them in the chat. If you have questions, put them in the chat, and I'll interrupt Jack at regular intervals to get those answered. So with that being said, Jack, over to you.
Brilliant. Thank you very, very much. And thanks to everyone for joining today. I'm really, really excited to do this session and delighted to be part of the community. So I've been a sales leader since probably, I think I'm going to say 2014. So about 12 years I've worked as a sales leader. I've worked on multiple different parts of the commercial journey. The personalities that you deal with in sales, I do feel are unique to sales. We've got some of the best and quirkiest people around that work in sales businesses. But one thing that we will all come up against is confidence issues in our team, both overconfidence, but today we're going to be talking about how to manage people who are low on confidence and help them through that process. It's a collaborative session, so I'm going to be asking multiple times for your insights, your perspectives, your experiences that you've gone through, while also sharing my experiences, my methodologies that I've used over the years that have sort of served me well. So without further ado, I will try to share my screen if I can. There we go. There's a button there that says share screen. It'll probably do the one. Okay, and hopefully that's sharing. I've gone for an orange background because it matches with my hair well. But if the orange makes the white difficult to read, let me know now, and I will switch it to an easier to read color. I think we can all see it. Brilliant. So to start with, oh, sorry, here's the agenda, right? So we're going to do an activity to get started, to warm ourselves up, have a little bit of fun with it as well. Then we're going to talk through the importance of data when it comes to identifying possible confidence issues, the human conversation that we need to be having and how we could be having that, and creating psychological safety. Committed coaching, we'll go through what that means, the sort of models that we could be following. And then we're going to talk about prevention, early signs, and basically how to avoid getting in the same situation over and over again. So for the exercise, I'm going to do this and I'm going to stop sharing my screen and look at all your faces again in a second. We're going to do a game of Would You Rather. There's going to be a mixture of just random things, as well as some specific to obviously what we're talking about here today around confidence. So I'm going to post in the chat. I will also say out loud, would you rather this thing or that thing? So as an example, I'll post, would you rather attend a Christmas party or a summer party? And then obviously get your reactions to what you would rather out of them two. We'll go through about 10 of them to get nicely warmed up. I'm really keen to see some of the outputs on this, and then we'll dive more into the context of today's session. So hopefully we're ready for that. I'm going to stop sharing, go back to see all your faces. So we will start with that one. So Christmas party versus summer party. What would you rather? I'll give you 5 seconds. I'm going to say, oh, I wish there was a counter now. I'm going to eyeball it and say that I think summer party just took that. Right. Would you rather react with, I'm going to try and actually do the reaction. This is for all your Slack users and Teams users. Oh my God, I can't even find it. There we go. Thumbs up or a love heart. What would you rather react with? Oh, we can actually get a count going here. Look at this. The beer one's also a good one. There are some that I wish didn't exist on Teams to be used. Right, next one. Similar note. Would you react with a meme or a GIF? Oh, I reckon GIF's taken that. Definitely. Right, okay. Few more. Fully remote or in office full time? No hybrid options. All in or all out? God, that was looking good for in office, and then remote came back with a second half comeback there. Brilliant. Right, let's go on to something more specific to what we do. Would you rather have someone do 10 dials per day or 10 outreaches per day and 1 meeting per day versus somebody who's making 100 dials per day and booking, I'm going to put 0.5 meetings, 1 every other day, right? What would you rather out of them? The 10 dials guy or girl, or the 100 dials guy or girl? I mean, that is a landslide there, isn't it? Quality over quantity always wins. All right, quick one here then. Team outing, escape room or pub? Be good if I could spell escape as well. It's escape. I think that's Spanish for escape, which is good. Definitely.
We've got a multilingual group here. It's good.
Yeah. Oh, it's a really mixed, it's quite well balanced here. Okay, let's go for something definitely relevant to what we're dealing with. So, would you rather deal with low confidence member of the team or an overconfident member of the team? What would you rather deal with as a manager? Right. Okay. We'll do a couple more, and then I promise you we'll get going. Would you rather? Let's pick a good one. Okay. Trying to find a way to word this that might be politically correct. So I'm just going to go for something that might not be. I don't think it's too bad though. Don't worry too much. Would you rather be seen from your team, the perception of you as a bit of a dictator or as a friend? What would you rather be seen as from the team? Oh, it's supposed to say, I don't think that's my spelling being tested. That just says dictator. Right. Okay. Let's do one more and then we'll get cracking into things. Perfect process or perfect culture? Oh, we've got people in the waiting room. Sorry, that's my fault. Got them in now. Okay. Perfect culture. That was the landslide one there. Perfect culture. 100% win rate. Right. Okay. Brilliant. So thank you for engaging in that little fun game. We're going to be talking about some stuff that is relevant to that, which is all around building confidence, particularly building confidence back. We know that we deal with, I mean, for me, one of the most brutal jobs out there when it comes to confidence and people getting battered with rejection day in, day out, high targets, ever increasing, huge expectations, often not a lot of support. So we're going to deal with people who have low confidence. How do we get them out of that and back on form? Let's get cracking. So we'll talk data and think of, I suppose, first of all, question to the audience of what sort of data would you be looking for to see, if you're trying to see, is there a confidence issue within my team members? What's the type of data that you're going to be looking for? I've already put activity on there. Anything else that comes up? Dave, I might need you to shout some of these out while I'm sharing my screen.
Of course.
Thank you.
We got dials, call duration, consistency, creativity, personalization rates,
Brilliant.
duration, meeting to opportunity.
Excellent.
Last one, meeting rate versus no-show rate versus creation of pipeline.
Excellent. So there's loads of data points that we can go through. There's the activity trends, there's the performance trends, behavioral indicators. I know maybe not so much data, but you've got if people are late to meetings, maybe they're not showing up to meetings, maybe it's their general atmosphere, they're less engaged in meetings. We're trying to see these type of signs that can't solve the issue. They can't even diagnose the issue. But as a manager, you've only got a finite amount of time and you need to pick where you're going to spend that time. So the data should be there to highlight to you there's a potential confidence issue here. Somebody's performance has started to slide when it's been consistent and it's now dropping, or it's becoming sporadic. Their average call length is getting lower, or maybe their time talking on the phone, if you have call analytics, you can see the time they're talking has suddenly started spiking. Possibly there's a desperation that's coming through on the phones. Possibly they're prioritizing themselves over prioritizing the customer. These are the types of trends that we can see coming through to say, maybe it's not, maybe it's nothing, right? Maybe it's just a blip, but there could be something here that's definitely worth exploring. Let's go on to the next bit, because that's then we've spotted something which is a cause for concern. Somebody's productivity has dropped, let's say. It's then about the human connection. So this is the thing that the data can't do. It's led us this far. We're now over to the human connection side of things, which is where really we make our money as sales leaders. You have an opportunity in terms of the setup of these meetings to either build trust with that person or just increase their anxiety. So actually everything down to the way that we set up to have this conversation, it's absolutely essential to make sure that they feel totally safe in this environment and they feel that you have their best interests at heart. A lot of people will be spooked by the fact that their manager suddenly wants to have a chat with them. So rather than going in a quite direct approach or saying, oh, well, I need to talk to you about something, but I'm not going to tell you what I need to talk to you about. I'm just going to put a meeting in your diary and unlabel it and things like that. Think about how that's going to be received by them. Other things to think about. So the invitation, it should be more of a, oh, look, I wanted to run something by you. I wanted to check in with you something. Oh, I noticed something and I just wanted to get your thoughts on it. So it's really a soft approach to try and invite them into the room, because your first conversation, it's not a performance conversation. It's not performance management, it's confidence management. So it's totally different. So we've invited them in a really polite and courteous and empathetic way into this meeting. The next thing that really matters is the environment. I think about some of the conversations I've had with managers in the past, and some of the most impactful and powerful ones that I've had have been totally away from the office environment, in an informal setting where I feel more relaxed. It's a neutral venue. I haven't been called into my boss's meeting room and sat down in an uncomfortable chair with a huge desk in front of me. I've been taken into a cafe, into a pub to go and have a sit down, have a coffee, have a beer, and chat through some of the things that have appeared that they are concerned about when it comes to my confidence or my performance. That won't fit for everyone, right? So it's up to you as a manager to know what is best for this person. What is actually going to make the most amount of difference for this person? Are they going to prefer a quiet chat in a more private setting? Are they going to prefer it to be done formally with a screen in front of them, with their book in front of them? Some of us are managing teams around the world, right? So it's going to be less about the environment, because it's all going to be on a video call, but it's maybe it's going to be about the timing. You don't want a meeting in on 5 o'clock on a Friday. So think about that setup, the environment, and then it's down to the tone. I'm not just talking about vocal tone. I'm talking about the language you use, your body expression, your facial emotions. I was always taught through these meetings that you have. And again, this is early stage, right? This is like, we're still trying to diagnose things. We're still trying to have that chat. We should be smiling, right? We should be, happy and cheerful and excited to go and spend time with our team member to go and learn more about what is going on for them and how we can potentially help them in this moment, in their career, etc. We should really, really look forward to these meetings. And I think too many managers, from my experience, look at their one-to-ones and their team engagements as a bit of a nuisance and a bit of a block in their diary. Ultimately, it's the most important thing that we've got is our team. So look forward to these meetings, look forward to inspiring them, to educating them, etc. These are emotional conversations. They're not necessarily logical conversations. It's all about, can you uncover the emotion? One of the best bits of feedback that I can give at this point, and it's honestly, it's the easiest technique possible, but it was a real game changer for me. When it comes to feedback, we're naturally threatened by it as people. It's really, really difficult to take feedback and your initial reaction to be positive. Something that really helps with this, that lowers that kind of barrier that you naturally put up, is just to go down a permission-based feedback. So rather than just saying, by the way, I'm going to give you some feedback, I think your call's rubbish, right? Probably wouldn't do it that way anyway. You would go to them first and be like, oh, look, I wanted to have a sit down. I'm all right. There's something I noticed. I'm all right to give you a little bit of feedback on it. Or I overheard your last call. can I talk you through what I observed on it? They will naturally say yes. I've never had anyone say no. If they do, I'm not saying that's good. The sales is right for them anyway, right? So they'll say yes. They've now lowered their psychological barrier. They are now more receptive to hearing what you're going to say because they've just accepted your sort of invitation to come and give them feedback. So they're now in a much better place. At this point, you should be trying to diagnose what are the sort of, what are the feelings, what are the concerns, like what is going through. A good way of doing this, we spoke about anxiety at the start. I should have actually done this at the start, to be fair. When you're going and you're having these meetings and the person will know there's something a bit odd. He or she wants to tell me something. My manager wants to tell me something. To wait until afterwards, we always talk about active listening and trying to get more information. And that we'll come on to that. It's so important. They will not open up until they know why they're in that room, until they know why they're sitting down with you. So I would call it like a download or, a briefing almost. So you start the meeting and you say, oh, look, by the way, the reason I wanted to chat with you today was because I noticed this. I had a feeling about this. I was concerned about this. I was a bit worried that you might be feeling this. So just start with a nice bit of emotion, a little 2-sentence. I wanted to speak to you because I was a bit concerned that I noticed that your numbers were dropping and you didn't seem quite yourself. So I wanted to have a chat with you and make sure that everything was okay. Anxiety is lower. Now you can give them permission-based feedback if you've seen anything even deeper. That will help them to open up, right? And really get this conversation, because we want them to tell us what's going on, provided they feel comfortable to do so. So we can then support them and coach them and help them develop to the next stage. Hopefully this is all making sense. I don't think it's anything, I don't think I'm reinventing the wheel here. It's just human conversations. We're then listening, questioning, listening, understanding, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. After all this, and we've had a conversation, 20, 30 minutes over a coffee or a beer or whatever we've decided to do, we should now, between the two of us, understand what is actually going on. I have a theory to it, right? So we should have a theory to say, okay, we believe that this person's confidence is low, or we believe that your confidence is low because you've had a bad month, you felt your target was too high, then it started spiraling, you feel like you're stuttering on the phone, whatever it might be. Great. We've got some sort of hypothesis as to what's going on. We can now move to the next stage. We can now move into a more coaching-based conversation. This was just about that first real life. Let me understand where you're at, and then let me see if I can help you. I'm going to stop sharing for a second and make sure that there's no one else waiting to come in. Hopefully there's not. Good. Is this all making sense so far? Does anyone have any questions for me before we dive into the sort of coaching side of it? Got some
All
thumbs
makes
up.
sense. Thank you.
Brilliant. Excellent. So next, when we go into coaching, we're going to go into some of the methodologies I've used. I'll be honest, like it's not like I've read every single coaching book out there. I love having human conversations. I'm pretty sure that in this room, people will have studied coaching a hell of a lot more than I have and have some wonderful insights. So please share them as we're going along. When we're going to talk about one-to-ones, right? So we're going to talk about one-to-ones and a more formal coaching setup now. What I want to hear from yourselves first is, what are the worst, I suppose, themes, or right, what are the most common themes for bad one-to-ones, right? Obviously that your managers or your peers would do, not yourselves personally, but what are the common themes for bad one-to-ones? That's what I want to hear. So either shout out or post in the chat at your leisure. Common themes for bad one-to-ones. What are we thinking? Poor preparation on both sides, no agenda, drifting through the one-to-ones, not having anything actionable, lack of acknowledgement that a challenge exists, sidetracked with Slack, etc. Yeah, not your full attention, no recap or outlook. Other things I think terrible themes are managers not showing up on time, or colleagues not showing up on time. No real agenda, then being rescheduled. I hate rescheduling a one-to-one. It's something, I have to be honest, I have done before. I hate doing it. I hate managers that have done it. Makes you feel totally deprioritized. Just numbers focused, I think it's another one. Just being really numbers focused. The reps not opening up, absolutely. No real value added through the meeting. See it as a nuisance, etc. Speaking deals, pipeline is often the thing that comes up in one-to-ones. It's not a pipeline chat, it's a one-to-one. It should be a coaching chat, it should be a growth chat. But it's just often what's coming through. You said this one was going to come in, it hasn't come in yet. When's it going to come through? No agenda pre-call, absolutely. There's a few techniques that we can go through on my side that will help ignore these. And as much as like we're always so busy as sales leaders and SDR leaders, right? So it is really difficult for us to prep and absolutely give the perfect one-to-ones. But there are some quite simple steps that we can take. I've got 3 people in the waiting room again. My bad. They weren't there a minute ago. There we go. Right. So let's now go into some models. I'm going to start sharing my screen again. And then we will have a bit more of a discussion around coaching in general, what we can do. So I've already given the answers, so let's just put them all on there. Not that these are the total answers. One thing that's really important that I always come back to, and I think I was at fault for this through a lot of my career, and I still am to some extent, is that I still, when it comes to growth conversations, when it comes to coaching conversations, and we're talking about people with low confidence, ultimately our role is there to support their career, right? And make them an asset for the business. We are there to get their performance, and their confidence is impacting their performance. Therefore, our job is there to drive them. Yes, we're human as well. We want to support people. We want to make them the best versions of themselves. But their career is on them. Their skill set and their skills development is on them. They should care about it way more than we do, because ultimately that's them. That is their whole aspirations. That's their whole life. Maybe not their whole life, their whole career, I suppose. So as leaders, we need to make sure that we're doing that. If the ownership feels on us or on the company, or there's an expectation that the company should be doing the coaching, the company should be doing more for them. JFK said, ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. And it's the same, just replace country with company. It's on them to really drive their own development. We create the framework, we create the support, we create the coaching, we give them the guidance and insights they need, but it is on them, right? So that's a mindset shift, and it will come up in some of the language we use and some of the commitments that we make that we can go through. Coaching frameworks that I've used. So one is a good one for one-to-ones. It does take a bit of prep, but I was taught to use what was called a coaching cross. So it was a cross, so it had 4 sections in it. And each section, one of them might be a section all around call handling techniques. One of them might be around maybe extracurricular. One of them might be around productivity. One of them might be around professionalism or pipeline generation, whatever you wanted to put in them. Each of the quadrants has a sprinkling of sub-skills, right? So the specific things, the objection handling, the hooks, the dials, the pipe, whatever it might be, conversion rates. I would go through a process of, I would submit the coaching cross. It would be the same every time. Submit that to them before the meeting. They would get to pick 2 items from the cross, or anything that isn't on the cross if they think it's relevant. I would pick 1. So I still have some control over it, right? I want to speak to them about something specifically in a coaching format. So I've picked something up. They'll pick 2, I pick 1. They still have overall ownership of their development. I have a way to focus it in a way that I think will be most effective as well. So we then agree beforehand. I tell them, by the way, I've chosen this as a subject I want to bring up. That might provoke a little bit of anxiety in them, but better to get them mentally prepared to discuss said topic rather than springing it on them on the day. And they would send the 2 to me, ideally 24 hours before, or at least a day before. So we can, I realize 24 hours in a day are the same thing. But so that I can prepare if I need to go and research a certain thing or understand a certain thing or listen to a certain bit of their call, I can prepare for it appropriately. That's great in a world where we have so much time to do proper preparation. So that's like my sort of utopia gold standard of how I would love to do one-to-ones. The reality is we can't always do that. We haven't got the time to put that into everyone, and that's okay. So then what matters is what we do when we are in this conversation. So a model that I used before as a coaching model was the GROW model. It's also known as the RGO model. So GROW, GROW, G, goal, reality, options, and way forward. So you're trying to have these conversations with them that are progressing into a outcome that they are going to take on themselves, right? So we're saying, okay, the goal, what is good, right? We diagnosed this confidence issue. We think it's to do with X, Y, and Z. Brilliant. What's the goal? What does good look like? Where do we want to get to in 30 days' time? Okay, that's where we want to get to. What's the reality now? What's stopping us from doing it? What are we doing now? What's stopping us from achieving this? Great, let's understand that. O, options, the most important thing. Basically, throw it onto them. What are we going to do about it, right? Or more importantly, what are you going to do about it? Like, what options do we have to see? What could we be trying? That's a better way of framing it. What could you be trying? Then the way forward is, okay, what are we going to do? And when are we going to do it? And I want to have that commitment from them to say, I'm going to try this, that's going to impact that. And then we're going to cycle back in. So you now got that commitment from them. So when you're coming back to the follow-up meetings or you're supporting them in the interim, how is that going? Have we been able to deliver it? Why haven't we been able to deliver it? Oh, that's maybe a bit too direct, but like, what has happened? What has worked? What hasn't worked? But you've got a structured way of doing it. You want to make sure that you're any assumptions they're having, you're challenging, you're asking them about it, but you're doing it in a way that's sort of pleasant and progressive, not overbearing, not overly direct, not accusatory in its tone or in its language. And if you can separate the facts from the feelings, right? They might have emotions or perceptions towards something. It might not be true. So challenge it, just do it in a nice way, make sure it backs up with the data. So an example of that would be, okay, they've told you that they feel a certain way. Okay, well, what makes you feel that? What makes you feel that way, or what makes you think that? Or is this situation always true, or is it just some of the time? What evidence do we have that this is the cause? If somebody else was in your situation right now, what advice would you give them? If your colleague was going through the same thing, what advice would you be telling them? Again, this is all part of getting that self-ownership on their side. Another great technique that I've used before, and actually, I love boxing, right? And this is actually a technique that was famously used with Muhammad Ali back a long, long time ago. Muhammad Ali had huge weaknesses in his style. But when his coach turned around, he knew I can't tell somebody with an ego the size of Muhammad Ali that he basically can't throw a left hook, right? But I can tell him that his footwork is incredible. I can tell him that his jab is magnificent. I can work on them and really, really double down in the strengths, particularly when we're talking about confidence issues. If you focus in on the strengths, and a good way of doing this is often we're dealing with people, confidence issues. We're talking about people who often have been good performers. They have passed their probations, and now something is starting to decay. We can go back to their good calls. We can go back to these good deals that they've closed in the past, right? Get them to listen to the calls. Get them to analyze the calls that they made when they were successful, and get them to analyze a call that they are making in the last week. What made this call so good? Where did you struggle on this call? What would you do differently? You can use these in your future one-to-ones, right? With confidence, we still need to be coaching them. We still need to be improving their skills and their techniques, but ultimately we want to lift them up. We want to lift them off the floor. How do we do that? Focus on what they're doing well, what they think they're doing well, what the numbers suggest that they're doing well. Build up from there. It's a really, really good technique. When you're setting, and I'll stop sharing my screen in a second. When you're setting these goals, right? And we said, look, what's the way forward? What are we going to do next? The SMART goal setting, or I think there's one called Smarter, but I'll just use the SMART as an example. It's cliche and it's old school, but it makes a lot of sense, right? Specific, measurable, achievable or attainable, relevant goals that you're setting them to make sure that we can actually hold them accountable to these. Because there is a time where confidence issues become a competence issue. And we need to make sure as leaders, we know when the time is right for us to change our style. To this point, we've been coaching them, supporting them, understanding, empathizing with them, and doing everything that we can to get them off the floor. But ultimately, we're judged on their performance. We're judged on the overall performance of the team, and we need that performance. So when we're getting to that point where things are not going in the right direction, despite all of our hard work that we're going into it, we need to know when the time is right to switch that conversation to a performance management conversation, not a confidence management conversation. And my advice would be, I've never heard anyone think that they had a performance management conversation too early. I only ever hear people think that they've had performance management conversations too late. So whatever you think is the right timeline to start a performance management conversation or start going down a different line with things, I reckon you probably need to bring it a month earlier. And as soon as you're 51% sure that this is going in the wrong direction, 51% is confident enough to go and start that process and begin making them decisions, because your gut instinct is usually right in these situations from my experience and others. So I'm like coughing a bit now. Any questions in the chat before we go into the final bits of things?
Just double checking. Kev mentioned, are you doing this for all reps or just those specifically faced with the challenge?
I think when it comes to one-to-ones, it will depend on how many one-to-ones you're having to do and how big your team is. I think if you've got a team of 6 or less, I think you can go through a really structured one-to-one process and get great value from it. The moment you go above that, I'm going to assume that your time is becoming more and more stretched and precious between your team members, and then you maybe need to start prioritizing. So that's with the formal one-to-ones, and then the sort of just general ongoing coaching conversations. When it comes to these, I'm going to take the person out for a drink off site and I'm going to have a chat with them because I've got a concern around a possible confidence issue that's arisen. That is going to be me reacting to something that I've seen in the numbers or something that I've observed physically, maybe in that person's reaction. So I would hopefully, depending on your team size, but I'm sort of thinking I'd only really want to be managing 2 of them situations at once, right? 2 confidence management situations at once. Maybe I've got 1 performance management conversation that I'm having, but when it's to do with trying to G people up, understanding where they're at and getting them back on track, if you're doing any more than that, then I think you've got a broader confidence issue in the department, probably led by bad target setting or something like that, which is dragging the team down, or a negative culture in the business, or you've just gone through redundancies. That's what I'd say. Make sense?
Yes, it does.
Brilliant. We've got probably 15-ish minutes, and then we can go into sort of wrap up and finish mode. So I want to talk prevention now. So we've diagnosed the issue. We've identified it through the data that there might be an issue. We've diagnosed it through a human conversation. We've now started some sort of a coaching model to try and drive this performance forward, putting them at the center of the accountability for that. Now we need to prevent. What I want to ask, I suppose, is about most people in here, I'm going to assume, are running sales teams, right? Or SDR teams, or certainly have done in the past. What are the things that you're doing? So I'm talking more like practical steps, practical things that you're doing to keep the confidence up and to keep the culture up in your teams. So I want one example from as many people whose fingers can type on keyboards, one practical example that you're doing to keep confidence high and team culture high in your teams. Fire away, or feel free to shout out as well.
Got shout out success, praising in front of the team, catching people doing something right and celebrating it, weekly shout outs in morning meetings.
Brilliant. So a lot of that, the celebration, recognition, public. But by the way, one of the top techniques that I've used is almost like the opposite of that in a way, which is a private chat with somebody when it is actually just to give them praise. So I spoke earlier about how often anxiety builds in people. If your manager comes over and says, "Oh, can I have a quick word with you?" or "Can I take you for a quick chat?" the mindset will go, "Oh, I've done something wrong." And if you just take them down and just say, "Look, I noticed last week this happened, or I noticed that you closed this deal and I was listening to this conversation and I just thought you did an incredible job with it. I just wanted to sit down and just say, I really appreciate the work you're doing. Please keep it up." Not for everyone. Some people love the public celebrations and displays, but particularly for introverts, that little, "I'm going to take you for a little private chat and just express to you my gratitude towards your performance," it's a massive, massive bonus. I promise you see such great reactions from that type of management. Let's see what else we've got in here. Ownership or capacity of initiatives. Letting the team share their weekly wins in a group setting. Perfect. Weekly settings where we have to listen to good calls, even if it didn't result in a meeting. Cover 2 to 3 reps per week. Goal setting gives you chances to celebrate publicly or privately. Multiple goals with different reps. Different goals for different reps. Perfect. So a lot of these types of things, it's about almost like the sum of the team being better than like the individual parts. And a lot of that is, it comes back to that winning and losing together. Like, this is not always, but it can be a really tough gig, right? You know, being an SDR is absolutely brutal and unforgiving at times, particularly for people who are just stepping into it. Creating that culture where they feel that they can lose and have crap calls and it's fine is so important. And to know what success is and to share that success, and for people to want to share their success and not just to want to hide the success from their peers and keep all of their secrets to one point. These are so important. So keep doing this great work, keep having these sessions, keep them fresh as well, would be my advice, right? Like, try and make sure that it doesn't just become the norm of things, and it continues to be quite a, I don't know, there's still surprises that happen in these sessions that people can look forward to week after week after week. Brilliant. So everything that we're doing there is going to help to, once we've got confidence back to where we need it to be, we're now confident that we've got the culture in place in the team to keep it where it needs to be. What else could we be doing? Let's have a little look through what I've put on my PowerPoint. So I'm not actually going to bother sharing because it's just a boring slide, I suppose, at the moment. So keeping them accountable. So these are your one-to-ones, right? So you've got their confidence where it needs to be. You've noticed what went wrong before. You should now be able to avoid that. Keep them accountable. Keep them telling you about their progress. Keep talking about their strengths. Perfect. The data. You saw what went wrong in the data first time round. So again, early warning signs. What's decaying? Is it happening in a similar place? I promise you, I was always told that with SDRs, you usually see a peak in performance between, you guys might tell me it's totally different to this from your experience, but it was between month 18 and month 36, so quite a broad window, right? But or some maybe even less than that, maybe between month 18 and month 30, you get this peak in performance. And then it can often just be through complacency, through other reasons, boredom, autopilot. People's performance just seems to slowly decay. It doesn't decay all of a sudden because they're still good at their job. They still know how to do it. But just that edge has come away. And that's where these proactive conversations about growth and development or leaving or next steps or more responsibility come super, super important. What else we said? We've got make growth continuous. Make growth continuous part of every conversation that you have, I suppose. Like, it's about creating a culture where people can give and receive feedback and feel that no one's actually going to get irate about it. That's a really, really important one. And as long as your conversations with the team, when you're sitting particularly on a one-to-one or in a public session, remain about growth and what we can do better, or what we can do next, or what we've won, how we can share that, etc. You're getting the right culture coming through it. But generally, as sort of, I suppose, parting note from me, managing confidence levels in a sales team or in any commercial team, it never stops, right? People are always going to go through peaks and troughs. 1 minute you're trying to suppress someone's ego and manage their confidence down because you know that the fall is going to be grander, and then the next minute you're trying to pick somebody up off the floor after they've had a really, really bad call or a really bad week, etc. So you just need to be constantly thinking about where the confidence levels of your team are. It's cultural. It matters how we put people together, how we treat them. Are we hiring the right people? Are we training them up right? Are we treating them right? Are we giving them the right amount of structure with the right amount of freedom and flexibility and expression as well, right? We've got to give them both. We've got to give them the governance and the guidance, as well as giving them the ability to go and express themselves and their individuality. And it's got to be human. AI is going to come for us, for us all at some point. I'm absolutely sure. What have we got that is a differentiator to AI right now? And it is, we are more human than them. We have more empathy than them. We can have better conversations and connections with our team members than an AI bot ever can, right? So we need to use that as our superpower and know that we can influence people, whether it's customers or colleagues. We can influence way better than any robot ever can. So we should be using that, wearing it with pride every single day right now. So that's it from me in terms of confidence management. I hope you enjoyed the session. I'd love to hear from people in terms of anything that they're doing that maybe didn't come up today, which is a really great point they'd like to share. So feel free to unmute yourself or comment in the chat if you don't want to unmute yourself. I'd love to hear some thoughts. I left it pretty broad, but I'm meaning thoughts on what techniques you're using or what you're doing to support confidence.
I'll come in here for a second if you could hear me, guys. So one thing, what I have realized, I am leading SDR teams for the last almost 7-8 years now. Getting demotivated or losing confidence is something which happens to every SDR, at times, or at some point in their professional journey, because we get a lot of no's before we could hear a yes, right? If you mean what I'm saying. So I think besides, or even to avoid these one-on-ones to a certain extent, it will be really great if we can share that, how to have a regular check on this, and what can help us have these one-on-ones as less as we can, right, with these folks, because one-on-one itself means that creates a doubt in their mind that the managers, the leadership is getting a bit worried about their performance, their thing. So it raises a question in their mind. That's what I believe. I could be totally wrong, or totally, you guys could have a very different experience.
That's great. Thanks, Tushar. And then just some comments in the chat. Janice, seems unfair, but sometimes hand out some tier AAA leads or inbounds for struggling reps. Then Luther John also mentioned engineering early success for your reps is very important. Easy wins is what boosts confidence in the first couple of weeks while onboarding new reps. Great.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Jack, thank you so much for today. It's been really enlightening, and we'll have this put up on our YouTube channel as well for people to check out afterwards. Thank you so much, everybody, for being a part of this as well. And we will see you on the next one. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. Thank you, everyone.
Cheers, everyone. See ya.